Humans Don't Make Good Familiars, Chapter 18, Jake's Point of View. I was in the audience, sitting on a chair of vines, watching the naming ceremony took place. Today was busy, apparently, with 12 individuals participating and declaring their names. The Grand Duke had sent us a request yesterday to see him in his private chambers after the ceremony, and given me permission to attend as his guest, since familiars weren't normally allowed. Just as one Yammer left, Luma, Suma's mother, flew up and took her place before the Grand Duke. He was sitting on what looked to me like a golden wood pillar, reminiscent of a throne. She landed on a perch in the center of the room and spoke.
My name is Luna, and I reside in Count Thakoma Isbala's domain.
Tell me, Luna, who was it that gave you your name? The Grand Duke asked.
My name was given to me by a human called Jake, known to the court as Sentinel.
A series of quiet groans echoed in the room, to my confusion. This court knows of the Sentinel. You are not the first Nyama to receive a name from him. For what reason did he give you this name? He asked.
It was at the request of my daughter and his master, Suma.
Nearby I heard several Nyama scoff, and one mumbled, You gotta be kidding me. Again?
It seems you have made quite the impression, Jake,
Suma said, using our private connection. I thought that might be the case. Thank you, Luna. You have been seen, and your name is recognized by the court. A record of your name shall be made and stored in the city's library. You may take your leave.
Thank you, Grand Duke.
With that, she flew out of the ceremony hall and was escorted to the waiting area with the others. Suma and I stayed to watch the rest, which lasted another 20 minutes for 6 more Nyama. Grand Duke Sopra took his time with some, asking one Nyama 15 questions before sending him out. But finally we all met together again outside the waiting area.
Congratulations, Mother,
Suma said, landing beside her.
Thank you, Suma. And you as well, Jake. I have not been this happy since the day Suma hatched.
Luna said, her voice high and cheerful. She reminded me a lot of my own mum, but smaller and a bird nymph. The sounds of wing beats behind me drew my attention. Are you Jake the familiar called Sentinel? The brownish-blue Nyama, only slightly larger than Suma, hovered in the air, beating his wings furiously to stay in place. I am. Please follow me to the Grand Duke Sopra's chambers. He is waiting for your meeting. Suddenly, he pivoted and darted down the hall. Oh, yeah, okay, I said, and Suma landed on my shoulder, followed by Luna on my other. Even with both of them, I hardly noticed any weight. Together, they probably weighed less than 3 kilograms. Walking there, I noticed the little Nyamba shake his head, land on the ground, and sigh lightly. Everything all right? Yes, sir, I am fine. Please take your time.
Jake, perhaps it would be best if Mother and I flew ahead and summoned you to us. The Grand Duke is a busy Nyama. We should not keep him waiting for long.
Luna added. Oh, yeah, that's probably smart, but, actually, I want to try summoning myself. I've been trying to remember the feeling of when I did it in the desert, and I want to give it a go.
A fantastic idea. We will see you in a moment, then.
Suma said and flew off my shoulder with Luna. The Nyama guiding them once again took off, and they all were out of sight in less than 2 seconds. 15 seconds later, Suma told me that they had arrived. Closing my eyes, I recalled what Zachariah told me in the void 5 months ago. To picture a red string that bound me to Suma, and pull on it while inverting the spell. In my mind, the string appeared, and I took hold of it while using my mana. However, as soon as I tried pulling on it, my shoulder burned like something had struck me with a fire poker. Pulling up my sleeve, I saw a magic circle tattoo on my arm was glowing a necrotic black, and the skin around was seared like a cooked steak.
Jake, what was that?
Suma asked over our connection.
Everything began to get dark, and I somehow felt it was you who was causing it. Then it suddenly stopped.
Suma, I think you need to summon me. I guess I don't quite have the inversion thing down yet. Also, I could use a healing spell, I told her, touching my burnt arm. The pain was as bad as the time the Wyvern's fire breath cooked my elbow and fingers. Somehow, it was even worse than when I lost my hand. Everything faded to black, and I reappeared in the Grand Duke's chambers.
Jake,
Suma said, seeing my shoulder, and immediately cast a healing spell on me. Slowly, my shoulder uncooked itself, and the pain went away. What happened? The Grand Duke asked, sounding concerned. He was standing on a table next to Suma and Luna. Were you attacked? No. Don't know what it was. All I did was try some myself. Must have really messed something up. My tattoo even glowed.
It looks like what happened when Deja...
Suma said, then went quiet.
No, never mind.
It's fine. I was thinking about that too. The familiar's curse, the Grand Duke said.
Ah, Grand Duke Sopra. My apologies for this,
Suma said. It is no issue as long as you're all right. But why would the curse hurt me? All I did was try summon myself to Suma's side. And yet, it was Suma whose body began to fade away. By performing the summoning spell incorrectly and in reverse, the curse must not have been able to distinguish between accident or attack, thus punishing you accordingly.
Grand Duke Udoka Sopra, you have my sincere apologies for all of this. We have been so rude. Despite being in your presence for so long, none of us have greeted your grace properly,
Luna said, bowing to the Duke with her wings spread wide. Please, that is unnecessary. Suma and Jake are old acquaintances, and I am the one who invited you all here. Be at ease. Could I offer you anything to eat? I can have my assistant bring you fruits, or even meat.
Your kindness knows no bounds, your grace, but we could not impose,
She said, still bowing.
I appreciate the offer,
Suma said.
but must decline.
I'll take some juice if you got it, I said, half joking, but really, some juice sounded great. Getting healed still makes me tired, even though I was getting used to it. And something sweet would have been awesome. He didn't know what juice was, and we continued the meeting.
My name?
I want to discuss a matter with your name, Lady Luna. It is of the utmost importance.
Is there a problem with storing it? Or perhaps something else that prevents its registry?
Suma asked. In a manner of speaking, yes. As the two of you well know, the nobles in this area are dissatisfied that Jake has named so many commoners, even going so far as to have attacked you years ago, the Duke said, shaking his head. Unfortunately, the problem has not improved much in your absence. One of the other Niama you named, a blacksmith commoner, was harassed by the nobles for some time, until I put a stop to it. I fear you, Lady Luna, will face similar pestering.
What? I do not understand. Why would they be so offended by my receiving a name?
Luna asked.
Because they are selfish, entitled, and my apologies, Grand Duke. I did not mean to imply you were...
Suma said, and began to stutter upon realizing she had accidentally insulted the Duke as well. No offense taken, Lady Suma. I am not nobility any longer, and was happy to free myself from the title years ago. Besides, you are correct. There are many things, not the least of which is deplorable, the Duke said, cold hatred in his voice. That was something Suma had told me once, that the Grand Duke was a title only obtainable if you relinquished your noble title, and served the Grand Duke's sanctum until your death. Apparently, it was more a religious title, with an official position within the government. Some Grand Dukes opposed the crown, others appeased them, but they were all free to choose. I would suggest that you leave Zakasham for a while, so let their tempers cool, and for me to navigate my way through them to protect you. I've had some experience with this in the past, so it should only take a few weeks.
Where am I to go?
Luna asked, concerned. Well, Sura and I are going to travel to the royal capital next week. You could join us, I offered. An excellent idea, the Duke said. But if I may, why are you going to Ágoston?
We plan to resign from the army.
I see. But that is easier said than done. Why do you need to get to the capital for that? It is normally done on your assigned base, or by proxy, he said. We have another method, I added. The Duke nodded. So I take it the rumors are true, then. You have met with Her Majesty, Queen Ampera. Yeah, I said. Luna nearly shouted in surprise.
You met the Queen?
Loud, holding my ear. From where I was sitting, she was basically next to my head. Why do people always scream in my ear? This keeps happening.
I am sorry, but the Queen?
And I take it you cannot tell anyone why, he added. Pretty much, I said. He sighed. Well, either way, it is a good idea to leave for a while. Well, unless there is anything else you wanted to discuss, I need to see a Niema about a flying rune-powered bicycle. Which sounds like a euphemism, but I assure you it isn't, I said.
Thank you for your warning, Your Grace,
Luna said, and both she and Suma bowed. With that, the Duke bid us farewell, and we were escorted out by the assistant. Later that day, back with Seal, it was time to pick up my orders. "What do you think?" Seal asked, having just presented me with a newly reconstructed version of the hoverbike I left him with a few days ago. We were standing in his workshop, next to the forge. "It looks totally different," I said, surprised. Before, the bike looked exactly like that, a bike with a scrap bolted onto it where wheels should be, drunken glass bars hastily welded to the bars, and seat for mana storage, and engraved with runes to make it work. Now, it was a sleek, refined, and looked more like something made by someone who actually knew what they were doing. All in all, a massive improvement. "Well, get on, power it, and try it out," Seal said impatiently. "What about the weapons?" I asked, sitting on the seat, which was the same as the original, only because Seal couldn't figure out how to make cushions. "They're already finished. That scholar friend of yours, Selkar, came by yesterday and installed the runes on everything. You can get them later. But who cares about them? Let's see how this contraption works." Fine, I said, summoning a dull jar filled with my mana, and inserted it into the power slot. A blue haze I'd never seen before swallowed the bike, and then vanished as the bike lifted itself off the ground. Just like before, it was almost completely silent once it got started. She must have altered the runes, because this time there was not an ear-splitting screech before the silence fell. My head simply was quietly turned on and started hovering. "Now take it up," Seal instructed, excited to see how it performed. Before, there were handlebars, but those were just to make it easier to ride. Since I only had one hand now, Seal instead installed something akin to a seatbelt for me. At my request, the bike itself, the old version of the new one, was controlled by 6 runes. Putting the power into them made it go forwards or turn left, right, stop, raise, and lower. With my left arm, I managed to speed, and with my right hand controlled the direction. The bike slowly rose from the floor, first 1 meter, then 2, until it was finally close enough to the ceiling to touch it. "Maybe we should be doing this outside," I suggested. "Can't! It does not fit through the entrance. You will need to summon it to get out, and you neglected to bring Lady Suma with you to forge that connection." Right," I said, landing the bike. "Speaking of which, have you decided on its name?" "Yeah, I'm going to name it Pegasus, or maybe Schlipner." Seal sputtered. "Why would you ever call it that? Bit cursed, I'd say." "No, Schlipner. That's bad luck, naming a summon after a beast like that." "You know what a Schlipner is? First Yggdrasil, now Schlipner. How long did the Vikings stick around exactly?" I wondered to myself. "Of course, they were the shadows of death that the Vikings rolled when they hunted Niema." "What? Have you never heard the stories?" he asked. "Actually, I suppose you wouldn't have, being a familiar from, wherever it is you're from. My world has stories of Slipknot too, but it wasn't like what you described, not exactly anyway. Well, here it's bad luck, so I wouldn't recommend it." "Maybe chariot? That's a good one. Does it mean something?" Seal asked. "No. It's a type of horse-drawn wagon used for transporting people." "Right, yes, indeed," Seal said, nodding his head. Do you know what I just said?" I asked, surprised that he knew what a wagon, or horse for that matter, was. "No, well, not a wagon anyway, but horses are a type of familiar." "They are?" I shouted, surprised. "Sure. In fact, my father's father had a flame horse when he was young, and a friend of mine has a stone horse. To think that they could be used to move things around, though. I always took them to be too much fearsome a beast to do anything more than fight in battles," Seal said. "Right. Anyway, now that you're retired, will you be travelling to the capital soon?" I asked, changing the subject, and landing the soon-to-be-named bike. Hopping off, I pulled the doll jaws free and stowed them in my bag. "Yes, within a day or two at most. Sorry to see the shop close, but when you get as old as I am, you should just want to spend time with your son and his son," Seal said. "What'll happen to the smithy?" I asked. "It was already bought up for 20 gold coins, 20 large doll jars by some lower-ranked nobility. He's just letting me stay here for 5 more days and 6 nights. How about this, then? I'll be travelling to the capital soon, too, with Suma and her mother. We're leaving the day after tomorrow. Want to join us for the trip?" "Now there's a great idea. If you don't mind having a rude old Niema like me along, I'd love to join you for a few." Seal and I spent a little while longer talking, before Suma arrived, and did the summoning spell for us. I told her about Seal joining us, and she said that she would tell Luna. After that, we left the smithy for the last time, and made plans to meet Seal by the Citadel in the morning of the day after tomorrow. I also stopped at Sadakar's lab, and told her that I was travelling to the capital. Explained why, and said that I would return in a few weeks. She wished me safe journey, in her usual formal way, and I went back to Suma's. The next day passed really slowly, as the big city was, vast only by sheer distance between things. In actuality, it was pretty boring, with not much for me to do. Finding ways to pass the time was a challenge. For the first half of it, I spent hours combing through Zachariah's memories, still holding out hope of finding more information to teach me how to invert my own spells, but was once again disappointed. During the second half, I tried to find meat, like real meat, not bugs or fruits. Mum packs meat in my bag every day, usually sliced deli chicken or a wrapped burger. But you can't exactly fit a roast beef or rack of ribs in it, unfortunately. Once again, I was met with disappointment. Finally, the day came. The four of us met in front of the Citadel and left the city of Zach Asham. I don't know why, but I expected us to be flying in formation. That was not what happened. Once Luna and Seal found out that they can get there without flying, just by riding on chariot with me, the two of them and Suma immediately climbed on board. I spent the bulk of the next several days with 3 birds either hiding under my shirt or perched somewhere on my body. One time Seal tried perching on the outer ring of the chariot's base, but the wind runes sucked him off his spot and launched him straight down, very quickly and with a loud surprised squawking sound. He flew back up a few seconds later, missing some feathers, and suggested we take a break for a bit. Thankfully, since we were approaching from a different direction, we didn't have to cross the wasteland to get to the capital this time. On the 4th day, at some time around noon, we saw a colossal tree peeking over the horizon. We once again arrived at the camp of Ágoston Szabó. A dome, that's how I would have described it from afar. It was a little dome made of metal, wood, and stone bars, all interconnected like a child's toy in a playground. It was just a little ways outside of the city's walls. From a distance, 50 meters in the sky and kilometers away, it looked small, but close up, it was much taller and wider than I expected.
Fly there.
Suma instructed, gesturing towards the dome. What is it? I asked.
An inspection point. We need to go through it before entering the city. My travelling group did this on our previous trip here.
What happens if we don't pass the inspection? I asked.
According to what I was told last time, we die.
What?
They are not the city's guards. This inspection point is operated exclusively by royal mages, the Queen's Guard. If they deem us a threat, they will kill us.
That's crazy, I said. The dome's top had several holes built into it, and we entered through one, landing on the ground. I noticed that we were surrounded by at least a dozen Nyama. 5 of them were mounted on a variety of tough-looking familiars. Now, with dozens of eyes watching and surrounding me on the others, I still thought this was crazy. State your business, one of the Nyama ordered.
We are here to enter Ágoston Szabó and seek an audience with Her Majesty Queen Ámpera.
Suma said and turned to me.
Jake, the documents.
Ah, yeah, I said, and pulled the one from my pouches I'd strapped on my bike, which I ended up naming Chariot. Several wood tablets with mannerless rune engraved on them. Holding them out, the Nyama who used magic to draw them to him, and examined them intensely. You seek an audience with Her Majesty for what purpose? The Nyama asked. I could feel Suma's nervousness through our connection, and it was not well hidden outside of it either. When she spoke, her voice cracked at first, and the feathers on her neck and chest were pressed flat against her body.
We seek to end our contracted time within her royal military. We have discussed this with her before, and have come to accept an offer she made us during our last visit.
Yes, I remember the two of you. About 4 or 5 months ago, you had a meeting with Queen Ámpera. The Nyama said.
Yes, that is correct.
The Nyama's eyes met mine. If I am not mistaken, that meeting ended with many dead Nyama, including court mages. Yes, I said hesitantly. Discussion, the Nyama said simply, and one by one all of their eyes began to glow. For what felt like an eternity, but was probably just a minute or two, everything was deadly quiet. You will be allowed to proceed, and we'll inform the Queen of your arrival and intention. But while you are in the city, you'll be closely monitored, he said, and returned the tablets with magic. I took them from the air and placed them back into the pouches.
We understand,
Suma said, and bowed. With that, we flew out of the throne room alive, but much sweatier. At least I was, anyway. Getting through the next inspection point was much easier. All they did was check our documentation, then send us on our way. No questions, not even an inspection, despite the name. None I could see, anyways, although Chariot did turn a few heads as we landed and took off again. Once inside, Seal split off from the rest of the group, going to see his son. We made plans to meet up again tomorrow, at noon, to meet his son. Suma also suggested that Luna and I go explore the city while she searched for a place that we could stay.
I could help you.
Luna said.
No, it will be fine. I can contact Jake as soon as I find somewhere and then summon him to me. If he holds on to you when I do that, then you will come with him,
she said.
I would rather help you search.
Luna protested.
Are you certain? It would be much more interesting to explore the city with Jake. I am,
Luna said. Suma relented, and they flew off, leaving me with some time to myself. I decided to search for some food, and ended up flying around on Chariot for a while. It was pretty nice, but I had to make sure not to fly too high, because Suma said flying higher than the city's walls was illegal. At the center of the city was a gargantuan tree that made up the castle. Since it was so big, most of the city was shaded by its branches, which kept everyone cool. Eventually, I spotted a crowd gathered near a tree's base and decided to check it out. Landing on the ground, I sent Chariot away and found someone to talk to, a young-looking Nyama with a mix of brown and blue feathers, and less than a head's height tall. Excuse me, what's going on? Why are so many people gathered around?
It is the
She turned to look at me, then stopped talking and looked up to meet my eyes.
Restoration Festival.
The glitter she had before suddenly dimmed, and she spoke those last two words just barely louder than a whisper. Oh, a festival. Can anyone join? I asked, leaning down to get a little closer to her size as to not freak her out so much. She nodded without saying a word. Can you tell me a bit about it?
It is to celebrate the Yggdrasil tree and everything at... Are you someone's familiar?
Yeah.
You can talk.
Yeah. You good? I asked.
Yeah.
You were trying to say something about the tree?
What? Oh yes, the Yggdrasil tree. The festival is to celebrate it, and it's restorative magic that saved the country.
She told me a story about how the dragons made the tree before they disappeared, to restore the country back to what it was before the Chaos Dragons' rampage. It had slowly made the country's soil fertile again, and its sap could cure sickness. The festival is held every year now, and had been since the city was founded. It was also the only day that the noble district was open to the public, which meant that the citizens could buy things that nobles used like meat, jewelry, fabrics, and other things. After she finished explaining, I thanked her and went inside the festival myself. Everyone was flying around, shouting to advertise their products, and generally having a good time. I walked around until I caught a smell of something cooking, and followed my nose to a Nyama perched on a stone, cooking meat using a fire spell. I gave him one of the gold coins I had, and he gave me a slab of flame-broiled meat. Taste-wise, it was bland and gamey, but I was starved and had eaten more fruit and vegetables in the last 4 or 5 months than I even wanted to think about. Walking around my meat slab, I suspended with magic because I didn't want to hold it with my hand. I found another Nyama who was selling jewelry. There were different kinds, like things that from huge wings, necks, or even around the Nyama's clawed feet, but none of it would fit me. Instead, I bought some fabric to use as a blanket. As I paid, this time with the manner and a dolge our vendor had, I noticed the Nyama in the distance was watching me. Deciding that it was probably just because I looked strange to them, I ignored it and went about my day. Until I saw the same Nyama again, I think, still watching me a while later. Honestly, I could have been wrong. I still have trouble telling them apart some. So that's what they meant when they said closely monitored, I said, finishing off the last of the meat slab. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.